Ahoy, sailors, and welcome back to Ship Talk with Jen and Ross. I'm Ross.
And I'm Jen. And we are your cruise travel agent, Virgin Voyages experts. And we're here to talk to you today about some deep dives into the Virgin Voyages cabins that are available and the different locations on the ships that you can stay in, and which ones are better and which ones you should avoid.
I like the way you put that because I always tell my clients and prospective clients that there are no bad cruises. There are unrealistic expectations. And I think having realistic expectations based on what we're going to go over today is going to be really helpful to our clients and our future clients.
Something else that we should, at the end, talk about is upgrading, because upgrading, once you know everything you need to know about the different cabin types and suites and things like that, upgrading can be really hit and miss. So there's some things that you need to know before you put those bids in, um, so you can make a decision on whether it's worth spending the extra money to upgrade or not. But for those of you who are new here, welcome. Like Ross said, we're Jen and Ross. We are travel agents. We specialize in Virgin Voyages and adults only and adults friendly travel. So even if you're not looking to go on a cruise, we can help you with an adults only all inclusive or adult friendly all inclusive land trip, whatever you want to do. We're your travel agents for that. So make sure to look in the description below, if you're on YouTube, or come to our Instagram to get in touch with us if you're wanting to work with us or follow along on all of our travels. Ross just got back from a quick little trip on Norwegian that we talked about in the last episode. I'm heading out on a couple cruises here in a few months too. I think Ross is going on another one. We're traveling all the time. So you can follow our travels wherever social media platform you want to follow us on.
Links are in our bio, so don't think you have to write this down now.
Um, so let's dive right in because we've got a lot to cover today. We're going to dive right into the different cabin types that are on Virgin Voyages. So the nice thing about Virgin Voyages is that all of the cabins, for the most part, are the same on every single ship. You're not really going to see much variation other than maybe some decor, coloring. The exception is Brilliant Lady, because there are some differences in how that ship was built to get through the Panama Canal, which we'll talk about later on in this episode. But let's talk about first your basic cabins. And we kind of have to talk about fares in here too, um, because there are lock-it-in rate cabins that kind of change things. So, Ross, do you want to kind of go over the lock-it-in rates and what the difference is between the regular rates while
Sure.
I'm pulling up my
So
list here?
Virgin has a couple interesting things, and we're going to talk about one at the end called their bid up process. But we should, and it has a lot of the same contingencies as lock it in rate. Lock it in rate is their entry level price point to each of their cabins. There's a lock it in rate for a Sea Terrace, there's a lock it in rate for Rockstar and for Mega Rockstar. And what a Sea Terrace lock it in rate means is you are going to get your cabin assignment approximately 72 hours before you board the ship. And you get what you get, so don't get upset. There are some standard things in every Sea Terrace that are not standard on the lock it in rate. Um, the signature red hammock may not be in your cabin. And we know how to check, but if you have a lock it in rate, understand there's nothing we can do if you get a cabin that does not have a glass railing, does not have a um, signature red hammock. If it's an ADA compliant cabin, it's probably not going to have a hammock. So those are things you want to understand. Now, the lock-in rate is an awesome value, but there are some challenges. You're not going to get up. You're not going to get sailor loot. You're not going to be able to apply a My Next Virgin Voyage to a base fare, like a Sea Terrace. You can to a Rockstar, but not to a Sea Terrace to get the loot. Um, so there are some specific rules about that that we will dive in with you one-on-one on because I don't want to speak out of turn and give you bad information. But that being said, it's an incredible value, because you're going to get a great room. You're still going to get everything that everybody else gets. Um, the You might get that glass. You might not get a glass rail. You might not get the hammock, and your bathroom might be a different configuration if it's an ADA bathroom. But other than that, it's you leave that room, it's the exact same thing as anybody else. And I had a friend who did it, and he saved a lot of money because he did the Rockstar Lock-It-In rate, which is one of the hardest ones to get, and he was very happy with it. So the lock-in rate is a great value, but what I tell all my clients, and Jen, I know you say this too, please let us research this for you. Don't just dive in not knowing what you're getting because there's
Yeah.
a lot of benefits. You paid for a sea terrace. There are reasons why you paid for a sea terrace. So let's make sure you understand everything you get with a sea terrace before you go to lock it in. And within that,
And
Jen, can you also then, Jen, speak to the three different levels of cabins within each class? Because that's important too.
yeah, so we'll get into that in a second here. The one thing I do want to mention about lock-it-in rates is there is a chance that you can get an amazing cabin um for not very much money. Like I have
Hmm.
seen people that have done an insider lock-it-in rate and they've gotten a sea terrace for the price
Yep.
of an insider.
Yes.
So there is a chance that you can do that. Now with the fare changes, you're you've got a lot of riskiness in there. You know, no cancellations. 15 days before sailing is when you can book your dining. Um, really, really crappy Wi-Fi. If you're someone that needs Wi-Fi, you're going to end up paying to upgrade your Wi-Fi because it's basically unusable at that level. So,
Well,
those
I
are
was
all
told it
things that
has
will,
it. There's only one thing you can really do with the basic Wi-Fi. You can use iMessage for texting.
yes.
You can use WhatsApp for texting, and you can use the Virgin Voyages app, and that's about it.
Yeah. And even the Virgin Voyages app is spotty because my friend did a solo insider like base lock it in rate, lowest tier she possibly could to get on the cheapest she could, and she couldn't do anything on her phone. It was really spotty. Her iMessage worked, but that was pretty much it. She couldn't check her email or anything. And she ended up paying to upgrade her Wi-Fi because it was awful. So, let's get into the different cabin categories. And like Ross said, there are 2 to 3 different categories depending on which category we're in. So, starting off with the lowest tier, which is the insider cabin. This is going to be your just regular run of the mill cabin. They're usually somewhere between 105 to 177 square feet. So they're going to be tight. I personally do not recommend doing more than 1 or 2 people in these cabins because it is so small. But within the insider cabin, you have a social insider, which can hold lots of people. You've got kind of like a bunk bed situation that comes down from the ceiling to hold more people. You also have a solo insider, and then the regular insider that's a little bit bigger. Um, the solo insider really is meant for one person. You won't even see it on the website if you're 2 people. Um, and there's only a handful of them. I think there's only like 5 or 6 of them on each ship. So those are some of the first ones to go. And they really are like you're staying in a closet. But if you're sailing solo, they're not horrible
And
to
to
get you on the
within
ship.
that, as soon as you leave your cabin, everybody has the same band, right? So whether you are in a XLC terrace or a solo insider, everybody's wearing the same band. What that means is 95% of the ship you have access to. And we'll get to the other 5% a little later. But you're going to have the same shampoo, the same towels, the same towel to bring to Bimini. You're going to have access to the amazing restaurants, limited soda, tea, basic coffee, the delicious snack bar, the food. Like everything's the same. You're just sleeping where you sleep. And I don't want to downplay the value because if your expectation is that you are going to go on value, then we're going to set you up with a value-based cabin that meets your price point. Because I don't want you to get it to have regrets after the ship, like, oh my God, why did I get a sea terrace when I didn't sit on the balcony once? I have no idea why you would do that, but there are
Yeah.
some people who don't. Um, and conversely, if it's your first time sailing, I would not get it as so I would not get an inside cabin. because it can seem claustrophobic. However, if you are someone who likes to sleep in total darkness, you are going to love an inside cabin.
Yes, I do love staying in an insider. Like, I will do it if I'm just, like, dead set on going to certain ports and the price is just out of my budget. I will absolutely get an insider cabin because I do love how dark it is. It is pitch black in there. And when you're in a sea terrace, you don't get that pitch black. Um, the other thing with the solo insider for the solo sailors, if you can snag one, the benefit you get is your bed is completely different than the other cabins. You get an actual bed. And it's a lot more comfortable than the regular cabins. So keep that in mind if you're a solo sailor. I was actually able to sit on my friends. I was like, "Oh, can we trade rooms? This is fantastic." um, but I am a hater of all the other beds in the fleet.
So let's talk about a
So
few things you're going to get in every cabin that we didn't neglect. You're going to get obviously steward service. You are going to get um, water service. So you're going to get sparkling and still water in your cabin every day. They're going to refresh it. You are going to get a cooler. You don't want to call it a refrigerator, but a cooler to keep your drinks cool, or snacks that you brought down from the galley. In every cabin, you're going to have a nice big TV. You're going to have a iPad to order food, to see what's going on, to work the TV, the lights, everything. And it's important that you understand that every cabin has these facilities, and they're really awesome. They're really nice.
yeah. All right, moving into our next category, which is the sea view.
We
So
get a
all of these
window.
rooms, you get a window. All these rooms are slightly bigger than your regular insider cabins, and they will fit 1 to 3 people. So again, in this category, we have a regular sea view, we have a social sea view, I believe, and then we have the solo sea view. So the solo sea view again is for solo sailors who are just trying to get on board. There's only 3 or 4 of them on all of the ships. But this is a great option for someone that wants to be able to look out at the ocean, but also wants to be on a budget because it's going to be slightly more price wise than your insider cabin, but you get the benefit of having a porthole. And the portholes are actually pretty large to look out at the ocean. You may have an obstructed view because some of these are at the front of the ship. Um, the solo sea views generally have an obstructed view, but for the price, you really can't beat a sea view cabin.
Sea view cabins are great. So there's 95 sea view cabins on the ship. And the entire front of the ship is sea view cabins that face forward. And then there's other places on the ship where they put them. They're really nice because if it's your first time sailing, you don't have that opening the balcony rush of air that can sometimes mess with your equilibrium. They're generally for 2 people, like Jen said. There are a few solos. Um, and otherwise it's 2 or 3 people. The third person be sleeping in what's called a Pullman's bed, which comes down from the ceiling and makes like a bunk bed, um, that are very comfortable. And it has the same features as and we should always also mention, if you are sailing by yourself or with a bestie, a non-romantic bestie, you can go to the solo meetups. You do not have to be in a solo cabin to go to a solo meetup. Everybody in the ship can go. I highly recommend it because they're awesome. And we did a whole thing about the solo. If you go to our last podcast, which I think is which dropped last week or 2 weeks ago, we really go into great detail about that. And everyone in any cabin can go to the solo meetups, but it's really for people who are by themselves. Whether or not if you're not with a romantic partner on the ship, go to the solo meetup. That's the best that I have.
Yeah. Um, so your sea view cabins, square footage wise, you're going to be anywhere from 130 to 190 square feet. So they're still pretty small. It's kind of like that in between size of an insider because of the locations that they're in on the ship. They're either going to be lower decks or on the higher decks, they're going to be towards the front of the ship. But they're a great option if you're on a budget, but aren't wanting to be in complete darkness. And again, like Ross said, you're gonna have all the amenities. You're gonna have the glam station. You're gonna have the refrigerator slash cooler. daily water service, all of the things, no matter what cabin category you're in.
So let's talk about
Okay,
the most common cabin on board.
so the sea terrace is the one that you've got the most of on the ship. Virgin really built these ships around the sea terraces, which is kind of nice because most of the other cruise lines, you don't have very many sea terraces. Um, so sea terraces have one, two, four different categories within this category. Five?
Well, you got the
Which one
XLs.
am I?
That
Oh,
is
lock it in,
XL
right?
is part of that category. Yep, and locked it in. Yeah.
Yeah. So, um, within this category, you're going to have the lock it in rate, which all of these will have a lock it in rate option available. There are limited numbers available of the lock it in rate. So if you don't see that, that means all of those are sold out. So, sea terrace, there's a couple different options here. You will either have a limited view sea terrace, which is going to be on Scarlet Lady, Resilient Lady, and Valiant Lady, or you're going to have a slightly smaller sea terrace on Brilliant Lady. This is because the way that the ship was made on Brilliant Lady to get through the Panama Canal is a little bit narrower than the three other ships. So the balcony in a slightly smaller sea terrace is a little bit narrower. You really cannot walk on the balcony. So don't plan on spending a ton of time out there. Um, the benefit of this cabin, the slightly smaller sea terrace, is you get two hammocks instead of a hammock and
And
two chairs and a
chairs.
table. So, um, the regular limited view sea terrace that has replaced, your balcony size is the same, but you're going to have an obstructed view, usually a lifeboat in front of it, or at least partially blocking it, depending on the location. And these are generally decks 8, 9, and 10. On 10, you're going to have a less obstructed view, but there are not very many of them. So those generally go first. Every time I've looked at a limited view sea terrace, they're decks 8 and 9. And you're going to have noise, you're going to have a blocked view. So those are just things to consider. Unless you're not bothered by that stuff, it's a great price. But on Brilliant Lady, like I said, you get the double hammocks instead of the full size balcony. I am 6 foot tall. And so when I went on the slightly smaller sea terrace when I was on Brilliant Lady, I could not sit in the hammock comfortably. Um,
You
I
really had to
I
use it
could
as a
sit
chair instead of a hammock.
Yeah, I could sit in it like it was an egg chair. I could not stretch out in it like I wanted to relax like I could on a regular balcony. So if you're taller, just understand that you're probably not going to be spending a lot of time out there, but if you just want to go out and sit and have a cup of coffee, you're probably fine. Um so those are the two lower tier sea terraces. Those are going to be at the front or the back of the ship, and again, possible obstruction to your view. Next, you have the regular sea terrace, which I think is probably the most common. Again, front or back of the ship, full size balcony, red hammock. Um, you're pretty much guaranteed a red hammock if you're in a regular sea terrace. Um, and then the two chairs and the table on the balcony as well, and the glass versus the metal balcony.
I should mention if you should order champagne to your room or shake for champagne to your room, they're gonna take your table outside and turn it into a champagne station. It's kind of cool when they do that.
Oh, I love that. So don't do that if you're in a slightly smaller sea terrace because there's no table. They'll probably do it
They'll still
inside.
bring a champagne though. Yep.
Yeah.
Um, so the Central Sea Terrace is their most common cabin. It is the one that if you see any videos that people post, they're probably showing you the Central Sea Terrace. And all it means is that it's centrally located. It's not all the way to the back. It's not all the way to the front. It's right in the middle, top to bottom. Um, and it has all the amenities that everybody else has. They're the most popular cabins, and this is where having a first mate's really important. We just went over 5 different types of cabins that have a lot of pros. There are some drawbacks. Please let us help you with this because um, I've had clients, you've had clients who are like, it was really loud. Well, you didn't let us pick it for you, did you? And it's not to be we told you so, but please let us help you. with this because if you're the person who's gonna be the last one in the room from the manor, it's no problem where you wind up. Unless you want to sleep late in the morning, because then there's places we don't want to put you for the morning. Conversely, there's places we don't want to put you late at night. If you are the person who wants to go to bed by 11 p.m., we want to make sure you're not going to have that noise because you're,
And if you're a light sleeper too, like,
yeah,
even if you're someone that's like, "I go to bed at a normal time, I get up at a normal time, but I'm a very light sleeper," positioning on the ship so that you're not hearing noise from lifeboats, you're not hearing noise from an anchor, you're not on a deck that's not in between other cabins. So, obviously, there's some things, like, if you have noisy people above or below you, we can't really help that, and we can't predict that, but we can do our best to make sure that your cabin location is ideal for you, and you're not just using the random cabin picker on the main website.
I will tell you one thing that I have never experienced on Virgin Voyages, and I think I can say that Jen has never heard this either. Children running up and down the halls,
No.
zero possibility
Drunk
of this
people,
happening.
yes.
Yes,
I have been the drunk people running up and down the halls, but yeah.
it happens. It happens.
The other thing with the central sea terrace is pay attention to the pricing, and I always show my clients both the regular sea terrace and the central, and I will let them know. I look at the cabins ahead of time, and I'll say, "Look, for the price, a sea terrace might be a better option because I can get you pretty central on the ship without you paying $500 more." Um, and I'll just let them know, like, these decks have pretty central locations in the regular category. These locations don't. But if you really, really wanna be dead center, then it might be worth the 500 or however much more, it is for a central sea terrace.
And it's funny you say it, Jen, because I was looking for clients for Alaska, and the Sea Terrace actually was less than a Sea View because the Sea Views just were sold out, which blew my mind. But hey, so
Yeah.
it's something to think about. So
Well,
those
and
are
I think
now there. Yep.
I was gonna say, I think it depends on the itinerary because, like, I am doing a sea view I'm doing a solo sea view for Alaska. My mom is doing she's on the same sailing as me, she's doing the slightly smaller sea terrace. Everyone has told me you have to have a balcony when you go to Alaska. Alaska is so expensive for anyone to get to that for me, it's like, as long as I can see the glaciers from my room, I'll go hang out on my mom's balcony. Um, or there's so many other viewing places on the ship that I'm okay with that. So, if price is really your biggest factor in choosing your cabin, let us help you make that decision and explaining the pros and the cons based on the itinerary because
Well,
you may not,
just
especially in a colder climate for like Alaska, you may not get a full benefit out of a balcony like you would in the Caribbean.
so it's funny you mention that because just as you can go up to the walking track up on 16, you can also go down to deck 5 or 7 and walk around the entire ship. It is 3 times larger than the track, and no one does it. And it's
Yeah,
so
I
nice.
think it's 6 or 7, I can't remember which
Yeah.
one, but
And it is so much quieter, and it's not nearly as windy as it can be all the way up there. So
yeah.
these are little things to know. So there's one other red band category in the sea terraces, and it's called the XL sea terrace. It really, the only thing that's different about it is the bathroom. The bathroom is considerably larger. You're going to get a separate toilet area, a separate shower area, and a separate vanity area. Those are the perks to that. The cabin itself is nearly the same size, but what you're really getting is the larger bathroom area. And I've heard great things about it. But again, as Jen said, it's about right fitting you.
Yeah, and
Because if
the
you're
XLC
solo,
chairs
yeah,
yeah, you don't want an XLC chairs if you're solo
yeah,
because
it's just
that
it's not
cost
worth it.
difference I mean, sometimes that cost difference is $1,000, and it's just uh, to have the extra bathroom space might not be worth it. I have friends that have done an XLC terrace. They didn't ask my opinion. They were just like, "Yeah, we're doing the biggest one that's not a suite." And they loved it for them because of the extra bathroom space because they needed the extra vanity space for them. Um, but if me and a girlfriend are going, one of us is sitting on the floor doing our makeup, the other one's in the bathroom. Like, we don't need all of that. The other thing with the XL is the closet is in a different location, and I think it's a little bit smaller too because of the location change, because that's how they got rid or that's how they gained some space in the bathroom. So just keep that in mind. You're getting rid of some things to have the extra bath or the extra bathroom space.
Right. And all of this is also dependent on how long you're cruising. If you're going on an 11-day cruise versus a 4-day cruise, those are going to be differences as well because I could probably do an inside cabin going on the Key West run. If I'm doing 11 days, I need a
Yeah.
window at least.
And
But
that's a good point because that's exactly why for Alaska, I'm doing 8 days. That's why I did a sea view because I wasn't, I don't need a view enough to splurge on a sea terrace, but 8 days in an inside cabin sounds miserable. I could not do that. I've done 7 days and that was rough. So, um, yeah. The other thing to know about the sea terrace cabins and specifically the XLs, these are the ones that are going to have some of them a metal balcony with no hammock. Instead of the hammock, you're going to have an egg chair. And some of them are either or. They'll either not have a metal balcony, but they'll have an egg chair, or they'll have with a glass balcony, or they'll have both. So that's just something to keep in mind. But it's pretty much any XLC terrace that's at the front of the ship. Those are going to have metal balconies and egg chairs. So keep that in mind and book early if you're wanting an XLC terrace.
right, and all the XLs are in the front of the ship, um, as far as I know. So, now within the Sea Terrace, the Solo, the Insider, and the Sea View, we should pause here and discuss the 3 packages, I think, before we go to the suites.
Yes, that makes sense. So, with the fare changes, anyone that's following me on my YouTube channel, you saw my live stream about the fare changes and the video I did. Um, this happened back in October. So, just to break it down in the simplest terms, because there's a lot of detail that goes into it that you guys really don't need to know. That's what you have us for. Um, but you have three different tiers. Well, technically four within these categories. So, you have your lock-it-in rate, you have your base rate, you have your essential rate, and you have your premium rate. So, lock-it-in rate is the very, very, very bottom. That means you're on a guaranteed cabin. You have no option to choose your cabin, no option to change it once your cabin's assigned. And I think they have up until 3 days before on a lock-it-in rate to assign your cabin. You get 15 days before you sail to book your dining. You get the basic Wi-Fi, which, like we said, is basically just iMessage and WhatsApp and some email. My friends were able to access some social media, but videos and pictures weren't loading, and it was a pain. And then, obviously, no changes, no cancellations, anything like that. Then you have your base fare. Your base fare is very similar to a lock-it-in rate, with some changes. Your cabin will be assigned, I believe, 7 days prior to sailing. Dining is still 15 days. Wi-Fi is still crappy. Um, no changes,
Say
no
basic.
cancellation,
Yep.
no refunds.
And
It's
that's
basic.
and when they say no changes, they mean you cannot substitute out a sailor. They mean you it's
You
they
can't
mean
change the voyage,
and change the
no
voyage.
rescheduling.
Yep. So be
And if you
mindful of that.
do, you lose all, like, I mean, you can, but you're going to lose all your money. You're not going to get a future voyage credit, anything. So if you have paid in full, you're out all of your money.
Definitely get that. And this is a reason to get third party insurance, not Virgin insurance. If you decide to do that, please talk with us. We will explain third party insurance to you, not through the cruise line, because the cruise line is going to say, well, you bought this package. You knew what you were getting into.
Yeah. Um, so then you have the essential tier. And this is the closest to what you got before all of these changes happened. Really the only difference is for changes, you can only change the second sailor, not the first sailor. So if you're sailing with a bunch of friends, make sure that the primary sailor that we're putting on there, which is something we will do, but the primary sailor, you just want to make sure that they're not going to cancel unless you have travel insurance. Um, and then 45-day dining booking just like before, regular Wi-Fi just like before. So really there's nothing really changed there other than the changes rule and swapping out sailors. And then your last tier is the premium tier. So premium has some extras that you don't get in the essential, but basically you get $15 a night per person in drink credit. You get premium Wi-Fi. It's not the work at sea Wi-Fi, but it is a better Wi-Fi. 60-day dining reservations. And what am I missing? That's it.
You
Oh,
get a
any sailor
dedicated
can
phone
pitch in
number, and
and
you
a
get a
dedicated
dedicated
phone.
phone number.
So if those things are important to you, then that might be an option. From what I have seen so far, the cost doesn't seem to be worth it. But if you really want that 60-day dining period, then it might be worth it to you. So, yeah. Am I missing anything? I think I got it all.
No, you did great. I think one thing we should also add is if you are going with some friends and we are booking your cabins with you, and tell us, do you want your group together? Because if we can put your cabins next to each other, we can do an extended balcony, which is a really nice thing to do. We sailed on the Key West run, which is Key West, Bimini, and a day at sea, and three cabins next to each other, and we had a ginormous balcony, and it was a lot of fun having that. Um,
Yeah. We did that on Miami Mermaid, and it was my friend and I in two separate cabins, and we did the extended balcony option, and it was so great to be able to just walk into each other's rooms that way. Like we had our privacy, and then one of us would come out on the hammock like, "Oh, hi, you're out here." um, but one thing to note with that is it's only connecting you on the balcony. You do have to sign a waiver. You do it when you get on board. Um, I don't think I have seen connecting rooms next to each other that aren't suites and balconies. And there's only a handful. I don't think there's interior connecting sea terrace cabins. So if that's something you're looking for, you have to do a suite and
the
a sea
only
terrace.
connecting rooms that I know of are the cheeky corner suites to the um, sea terrace. The aft sea terraces are the only ones that I
Yeah,
know that are connecting, and those balconies do not connect. I know that
yeah,
firsthand.
yeah. It's just
Um,
the inside part of those specific cabins. Everything else will connect on the outside if you sign the waiver.
so I think it's time to talk about Rockstar Quarters. Now, there are two classifications of suites. We have Rockstar and Mega Rockstar, and then there's a third group called VIPs. VIPs are people who sail an awful lot, are social media influencers, and maybe they have so much loyalty that they get a black band even though they're staying in a regular cabin. They're few and far between, but they do happen. So a Rockstar cabin, there are four choices of cabins. We have our Brilliant Suite, which is their most common suite. They're typically on decks 12 and on so far on three of the ships on deck 11. Soon the entire fleet will have them on both 12 and 11. Um, we have the cheeky corner suites. Those are in the aft. There's two per deck, and the higher you go, the larger the balcony. I mean, to the point that your balcony can be three times larger than the cabin itself. If you're with a group of people, you are going to be the party spot. Just be aware of that. It's an awesome. We bid for it. We're going to talk about bidding in a little bit, and it was incredible because we had loungers. We had um, not the greatest bathroom setup in the Cheeky Corner suite. Then there is the Suite Aft suite, which is almost like a Brilliant suite, except it's all the way in the back of the ship with a larger balcony. Then we have our um, Brilliant suite, which is a much larger, it's about a cabin and a half width compared to a Sirius suite. And with the Brilliant suite, you can sleep up to four. All the other suites only sleep two. So it's
And
equal.
the
There
other
are.
thing with the Brilliant Suite is there's a little bit more entertaining space inside the cabin.
Mhm.
I have a client that really likes the Brilliant Suite setup versus a cheeky corner suite where all of the entertaining space is outside on the bigger terrace. The Brilliant Suite has some inside seating that just makes it perfect to have people inside your cabin and not having to sit on your bed or, somewhere uncomfortable.
Right, you literally have a couch that opens up to a double bed for 2 more guests. Now, understand with any of these cabins, there are none, I mean, no rollaway beds on board. So, um, the Rockstar cabins do not convert to separate sleeping. It's a king-size bed or a sailing king-size bed, that does not split, whereas, all of the Sea Terrace cabins and the Seaview cabin will switch to be set up for 2 people who don't wanna be snuggly with each other. In the Rockstar Suite, you are snuggle ready. The bathrooms are vastly different across the 4 categories of the suites. The Sirius Suite is going to have a separate area for the toilet and the shower. Same thing with the Brilliant Suite, same thing with the Sirius, with the suite out suite. The cheeky corner suite, though, the bathroom is very tight because of the space they have to use. So
The
while the
other thing
shower is
too,
nice, the vanity is
well,
not so nice. Yeah.
yeah, and the thing I was gonna say about the bathrooms in all of these is the showers are see-through, and I think some of like, the whole bathroom is see-through in some of them. So, it's definitely not one that if you're a bunch of girlfriends going, you want to share a room in for the most part. Um, don't plan on spending $15,000 on a suite unless you're a couple that's really gonna enjoy that experience. And just know that there's not a lot of privacy in some of the bathrooms. So,
Specifically the cheeky corner suite.
yeah,
The other 3 cabins, you can make them private because that window can be covered. In the cheeky corner suite, the door itself is see-through.
is it's like a holographic see-through. It's really
Yeah.
cool looking design-wise, but
I
just
was
just
told
know
they were
that before you
looking
go into it.
and I was told by I don't remember by who, they are considering in the next round of dry docks to frost that glass just
Oh,
for the door itself.
that's
Not
unfortunate
n
'cause it
not for the
looks
window,
cool.
just for the door itself. It does look
Yeah.
cool, but I understand why.
I
When
mean,
you
I
walk
get it.
into it
It looks cool.
it does. When you walk into a cheeky corner suite, you are literally walking into your storage area. You're gonna turn left or right depending on whether you're in 99 Alpha or 99 Zulu, and you'll turn either left or right, and then you'll be in your cabin area. The balcony itself is ginormous. The only larger balconies than that are the Mega Rockstar Suite for the massive suite, and we'll talk about that in a minute. With Rockstar, you're going to get a dedicated phone number called Red Glove Services. You are going to get 120 days to book your dining experience. You are going to get really the dedicated thing, you're going to get your own dedicated waiting VIP area, specifically in Miami, but as well in Puerto Rico, in Portsmouth, in Seattle, in LA. You'll have a dedicated area because the way it works is first the rock stars, the megas go on, then the rock stars, then the deep blue and the blue extras, and then everybody else. And that's the order of operations there. The cabins are great. You're going to have something also called a Rockstar agent that is going to be kind of at your beck and call, where you can go on your app and talk directly to them. You rarely will have to go to seller services. If you need something, you're going to go through your Rockstar agent, and they can really make things happen. Um, and then the other thing that Rockstar Quarters includes is Richard's Rooftop. Richard's Rooftop is a private area. They like to call it an oasis. It's in the front of the ship. It is on deck 16. It's going to have its own private hot tubs, 2 of them, one starboard, one port. It's going to have its own towel service. It's going to have its own bar. It has its own cocktail bar hour every night from 5 to 6. Let's see. You'll see your Rockstar agent will meet you. They're there. All the Rockstar agents are there every day from 5 to 6 to say hello, check in on you, anything you need. Um, they're going to help you with everything from I didn't book any restaurants. They're going to get you into restaurants. It may not be the optimal time, but they can get you in. Um, they can organize. They're going to organize anything you want to register for on day one while people are going to their cabins. You're going to go to the manor. Actually, it could be the manor, it can be the sip lounge. Um, and then you're going to meet with your Rockstar agent. Now, understand each Rockstar agent has 4 to 5 cabins, so it can take a little while to interact with your agent. Don't worry, they know you're waiting. They know they get a ping as soon as you get on board. Um, and they also get a ping every time you leave the ship and every time you get back on the ship. They get a ping so they know that you're back on board. It's really kind of nice. So I've had clients with medical needs that like, hey, they really need a snack waiting for them. And I said, you're a rock star. Let your Rockstar agent know, and they will make sure there's a snack on its way to you every afternoon when you get back from getting off the ship. So it's really nice. So that takes us to, every Rockstar cabin comes with the basic Wi-Fi, not the basic, the regular Wi-Fi called classic Wi-Fi. Um, you can change cabins if you need to. You can change people if you need to. 120 days is really great for planning everything. And then they're throughout
120
the
days
ship.
survival too. Yeah.
And the nice thing is, now there is one illumination. Black band is a rock star or a VIP or a mega rock star. Red band's everything else. The other thing you should know about being a black band is there's going to be separate lines for everything for black band except the galley. The galley there's no pecking order in the galley. But from buying bingo tickets, because you're going to want to do bingo with the Diva. Have you done that, by the way, bingo with the Diva? It's awesome. Um,
And the new one, there's a couple new ones on Brilliant Lady that are like Bingo After Dark. That one is so fun.
we're gonna
So any bingo you do, you will have fun.
Yes. Bingo's great. I actually got up on a mini game and won a bottle of Monet. That was kind of fun. Then, so for all of the shows, there's a separate line for the black band. Black band will always go in first, and talk to your Rockstar agent about that. They will tell you where to meet them to get into the shows because it all comes down to a real estate game. Those staying in the Rockstar cabins paid for that real estate, and they get those perks.
And
Um,
the other thing about the shows is it's not always clear where the rock stars need to go. Just go to the front and ask the cast or the crew members that are at the front of the line where the rock stars go, and they'll tell you where to go. But people see your black band and they know that's what you're doing. They're not going to think you're cutting in line.
So the Mega Rockstar Quarters, my wife and I got to do Christmas, not 25, but 24 on Resilient Holidays, and we bid up for it, and it was an experience. So 3 weeks before we traveled, I get a phone call from Virgin Voyages. Hi, I think her name was Danny or Danielle. Hi, this is Danielle with Red Glove Services. I'm the head Mega Rockstar agent for your cruise, and I'd like to know what kind of alcohol you'd like in your suite. So it was totally out of the blue, and she must have had 15 or 20 questions for me, to make sure that everything would be perfect. And when I say any alcohol that you could imagine, it's not any alcohol, but they did a really good job. When you're a rock star, there's going to be a preset bar in your room. When you finish it, it's done. When you're a mega rock star, there's going to be a preset bar in your room plus a custom order. The custom order is going to be large bottles, one-time use. The the regular bar is going to be refilled every day. Also beers, any beers on the ship you can get as a mega rock star. As a mega rock star, you have an unlimited drink package. Any bottle of alcohol up to $90 is included, including 2 bottles of wine per meal each. I don't know why you need it, but it's there. You are also going to get a mega Rockstar agent that has 2 cabins, not 5 or 6, but 2. And some of them only have one. And they are I don't want to say they're your butler, but they really are. Because as a mega Rockstar, they will collect your laundry every day and return it the same day. They will bring you breakfast every morning if you so desire to your cabin. They can organize having any of the restaurants, including the galley, brought to your room, with the exception of the test kitchen, because the test kitchen is the experience of going to the test kitchen. I know it's Jen's favorite restaurant. She wanted it so bad in her cabin, but couldn't do it. Um, if you know what
Yep.
I'm talking about, go to last week's episode. Um, the other things about the Mega Rockstar is um, there's only 15 cabins, and typically one of them is always kept open and that's more of an urban legend than factual. So you're talking about 14 cabins of people. They're all on 15. They have the best seat in the house. They're going to get offered there's special insider things that they're going to get offered that nobody else does. We got offered a bridge tour. It was really awesome to go on a bridge tour. Um, you'll get invited to things that other people wouldn't because again, it's a real estate game. You've paid the most, you're going to get some perks. They're the first people on the ship when we went as Mega. We were numbers 3 and 4 on the ship because we were the second couple there. Had we been the first couple there, we would have been 1 and 2 on the ship. You're going to get premium Wi-Fi, which is not the same as work at sea, but it's still really good.
No, you
You'll
get
be able to.
the new change is Mega Rockstar gets work from sea.
They are getting work from sea. That
Mhm.
was confirmed. Thank you.
Yeah.
Um, you can sleep 4 people in every Mega Rockstar cabin. They are 1 and 2 bedroom configurations. Um, so 4 of the cabins have a 2 bedroom option. The massive suite, the gorgeous suite, and the posh suite can be set for 2 bedrooms. The gorgeous suite is set for one, but the gorgeous suite also has a full couch that can open up for 2 more people. Um, they have larger. The balconies are deeper and wider, and they have their own shower on them that are available on sea days, not on port days. Um, probably for modesty more than anything else. Um, and then on the massive suite, which is larger than most New York City apartments, um, you get your own hot tub as well, which is really nice, as well as your own
Massive
dining area.
suite. The massive suite
Is
is huge.
there
It's
are
ridiculous.
there are a total of 2 bathtubs on the ship. They are both in the massive suites.
Yeah.
And their deep soaker tubs are beautiful. Now, the other perk you're going to get as a Mega Rockstar is you basically get, not basically, you totally get unlimited access to the thermal lounge, the thermal spa, which is a 4 area spa that normally you pay $79 on sea days,
Anywhere
69 a port,
yeah,
right?
anywhere from like 59 to $69.
Right. And you can go every day as a Mega Rockstar to it. And it's really nice.
It's
We go and we sit in
it's
the
worth
we go
it.
to the mud room and the salt room, and that's it. And we sit there for hours in
Yeah,
those two stations.
I can't do the steam room or the sauna room or any of that, but that salt room is magical. The mud room is cool. I only did the mud room once, but just sitting on the heated loungers, the marble, oh my gosh, just
The
sitting there with
iguana rocks.
yeah,
Use the
yeah,
towels, trust me.
yeah.
Um, and so the Mega Rockstars really have the run of the ship. Um, they
The other
they're just
perk
it.
that we haven't mentioned yet is you get free transfers and free
Yeah.
parking
Oh,
at the
oh my God,
port
I forgot
if
to
you're a
mention
Mega
those.
Rockstar.
I so we flew into Puerto Rico. We arrived 6 hours late to Puerto Rico instead of getting there at 10 o'clock at night. We got there like around 5 in the morning when we finally got to our place. Then I had to do a Walmart run. It was a total nightmare, but I knew at 12:30 a black car was picking us up. Now, as great as it was to have a black car to the ship, specifically in Puerto Rico, having a black car from the ship was priceless because Virgin is still new in Puerto Rico. And getting out of there was a bit cumbersome for some people. For us, we just handed them our bags and went right to the airport. And it
Yeah.
was heavenly to have that
Yeah.
perk of the transfers. Um, and they
Even
will
doing
go,
that in places like Miami, because like this weekend, for example, is the Miami Marathon and 5K. I've got clients that are doing black cars both ways because they had it planned already because I told them how great it was. Um, booking it on your own because they're not sailing Mega, but it just makes everything so much easier. You don't have to wait in an Uber line and try and figure out how to navigate out of the port. So that is a huge perk that the Mega Rockstars get.
and within that, they will drive you from Terminal Z or Terminal 5. They will drive you to Fort Lauderdale or to Miami Airport. And Fort Lauderdale is not around the corner. It's a 45-minute ride, and they have no problem doing it. Um, They're super nice. I should mention, the black car drivers are not employees of Virgin, so tip them, um, because they're not getting a tip from the cruise company. They are independent contractors. Um, I will mention for when we've sailed as Mega Rockstar and Rockstar, we have tipped our agents, because they go above and beyond, and there's a lot of conversation back and forth on this. But these people they can make or break your trip, and we've had We've gone 3 times now as Rockstar or Mega Rockstar. We're going again in April as Rockstar, and 3 out of the 4 2 out of 3 of them were unbelievable. One of them, like, we would adopt this person, she was so amazing. One we never saw. The one that we would adopt, like, we handed to her, I'm like, "Don't leave this, put this in your pocket now." Um, and one of them was like, "Eh, take it or leave it." So, um, just be mindful of that. The Mega Rockstar agents are handpicked. They had to earn that spot, and they are worth their weight in gold.
And a
So,
lot of them go through training where they've worked in, like, private residences and things like that. So they are, like, the best of the best at what they do. They're not
shout out to
just
shout out to Stana. If you should be hearing this, you're the best Mega Rockstar agent. She was on Resilient Lady last year. I know her contract ended, and she was just delightful. And like she was thinking of things before we did. Now you walk into your cabin, there's a bottle of champagne waiting for you. They give you a lot of champagne on these ships. We should mention that a lot of champagne.
yeah,
It is their
or
solution to
rosé. It's
everything.
usually the rosé.
Yep. You get a stocked fridge. Um, you think about it, it's there. Jen, what advice do you have for someone who is trying to decide between a Rockstar or a CST, Essential Sea Terrace? What advice would you give them?
I I have a hard time justifying the cost of a rock star. So what I tell people is if you're unsure or you're not sure you're going to get the full value out of a rock star, book a sea terrace and bid up to a rock star. That way you're saving some money. You can decide if whatever the minimum bid or the maximum bid is worth that experience for you. Especially if, for example, Alaska, those prices for the Rockstar rooms were absolutely insane.
Oh my
Um,
God, it was off the chains.
I just like in my brain cannot justify that cost. So if someone comes up to me and is like, "Hey, I want to book a Rockstar suite," I'm not going to talk them out of it. But if they're conflicted between a Sea Terrace and a Rockstar, we're going to talk through the pros and cons, all the things they get, and if they're just looking at the bare minimum Rockstar, um, that value may not be there depending on the itinerary and the cost. So we're going to look at all of our options, explain the benefits of both, and talk about upgrading, which we should probably get into now because
Yeah,
that's a big part of how people experience Rockstar. Um,
the bid.
so upgrading, most cruise lines do this where you can bid to upgrade your cabin. So I have done it many times and I've been very lucky every time I've done it that I've gotten a great cabin. Um, so basically what will happen is after you book your cruise, you will usually get an email from Virgin that says, "Hey, upgrades are now open." And you can go look and you can go bid to upgrade your cabin from what you're currently in. Prices will vary. It will depend on what the rate is for the cabin at the time, and what the availability is. You'll be able to bid on every category because basically what they do is they start from rock stars. They'll do rock stars first, work their way down. Um, At least that's how it makes sense to me. So, one thing to know though is that when you're working with a travel agent, we can kinda help you figure out how to bid and if it's worth it to bid. I just had someone reach out to me this week that, is booked through me, and they're like, "Hey, we're thinking about booking or bidding up to a rock star. Can you tell me if you think it's worth it?" And so I was able to go into our travel agent portal, see what cabins for that category were available, and let them know.
Spoilers.
How is that a spoiler? I'm able to let them know, like, "Hey, yeah, I probably wouldn't bid because you're probably gonna get a crappy location." Um, but it's up to them to decide. Ultimately, it's their money, and if they wanna try that experience, they can. And there is a chance that something else will come available, but for someone to spend 3 to $4,000 more than they've already paid and potentially be on deck 8 above a bunch of noisy things in a rock star, to me, it's like, I would wanna know those things. So,
Oh, you're
if you're
referring
not working with
to
a travel agent.
you're talking about the cheeky corner suite and the aft suite for decade.
Yeah,
Right. Okay.
yeah, they were looking at the Cheeky Corner suite. And I told them, hey, if you want to go a little bit higher, look at this one because this one's got a couple locations that are available that um, might be a good option for you. So they're able to make a decision based on what I could see on my end. Now, there's a chance that those cabins that I looked at could get taken and they won't get their bid, but they at least know going into it, we're probably going to end up on deck 8. Currently, we're on deck 11 in a really good location. Is it worth it? So that's the thing with upgrading is whatever location you get, and they're basically going to take the highest bidder.
Pretty
You
simple math.
Yeah. You basically wanna make sure that your bid is they're gonna give you a minimum and a maximum that they'll take, and they're gonna go down the list and take the highest one based on what everyone else is upgrading to. So, that's basically it. It's pretty easy. Just know that it's very similar to a lock-it-in rate where once you bid, if you're chosen, you can't back out, and you're stuck with the location you get. You can't go back to your other cabin.
So let me give some gleanings on this because we've bid and we've also paid. Um, the bar in your room is worth approximately $500. Richard's Rooftop, if you have 2 cocktails a night each, that's $60 per night in the rooftop for alcohol, and it's 1 hour, and let's face it, you can do 3, so make that number from 60 to 90, per day,
Unless you're not a drinker. If you're not
unless
a
you're not a
drinker, then
drinker,
that may not.
and that's a really important thing. The pick of now, you're gonna find out that you got a upgrade approximately 28 days out. That's about it because after 28 days is when they release it to um, pe different closeout agencies to get rid of the rest of the cabins. Um, so about 28 days out, we're past the point of no return for restaurants, except for the 15-day people. So things like that. If you should get a Rockstar, they're going to be able to help you with dinner and such. You're going to get, um, the separate lines. You're going to get VIP. So whatever time you had, you could have had 4 o'clock as your arrival time. You now have a 12:45 or 1 o'clock arrival time. You then get the VIP entrance, which is in Miami over to the right. It says VIP. That's where you would go on One Palm Way. Otherwise, you're going through. Now, either way, embarkation is so stinking easy on Virgin. Um, so I did some numbers, and to me, the value of the alcohol, sorry, there is a value to it. The um, Rockstar agent, the rooftop. I'm putting that around $2,000 as the value. Now, here's what you need to understand. How much is the retail price? How much are you comfortable bidding? Please don't mess that up. I've seen people bid over the retail price. I'm like, why didn't you just upgrade? I could have done that for you and saved you money. So be mindful of that. Um, and bids are not guaranteed. The difference between Rockstar and Mega Rockstar is at least another $2,000 because you can go to the Thermal Lounge every day. You will get the choice seating in every restaurant. You can literally call your Mega Rockstar agent at 6:30 and say, "Hey, we need dinner tonight. Where can we go?" And they will make you a reservation that tight. Um, so be mindful of those things.
Yeah.
So and bid what to your comfort level. Remember, realistic expectations is what's going to make a great cruise or a horrible cruise on any cruise line.
Yeah. And $2,000 seems about right, I think, for a Rockstar upgrade, a regular Rockstar upgrade. Mega
Hmm.
obviously is considerably more, but I don't think I would bid more than that, personally, because
But
I
break
would
down.
take advantage of the alcohol, but, like, I have clients that don't drink, that they're very sober, and they keep wanting to try Rockstar. I'm like, "You guys aren't gonna get the value out of it because you don't drink." Um, and they don't drink mocktails either, so it's not like I can say, "Hey, can you replace these with some of your mocktails?" Um, they're just not gonna get the value out of it, and I would hate to see them spend that kind of money to
Yeah,
not get the full experience.
I think that's very important. So the first thing they're going to do, this is what I've heard. This is rumor. This is not official. They're going to look at what you paid, what your upgrade is, and start there. They're also going to look at what sold out. So let's say you're in a Syria suite and you bid for a cheeky corner suite, you're probably going to get it because why you didn't just go for the cheeky corner suite, I don't understand because you're already a rock. But let's say you're in an insider solo and you bid for a Rockstar Suite. That better be a really strong offer. So it's up to you. There's no right way or wrong way to do it. I wish I had intel on this. It's a closely guarded secret. It is a single purchase. It is not a two-person purchase. If you bid $1,500, it's not 3,000 like NCL does. You're bidding for the cabin, not per person. I will say though, for $2,000 on a 7-day cruise, that comes out to like $130 a day. Do the math. Think about it that way also. That's
Yeah.
my advice on bidding up.
Anytime I've bid up, it's been I'm in a regular sea terrace and I'm bidding to Central. Um, and I've only bid like $100 and I've gotten it every single time
Yeah,
because I'm just going up a level. And the only reason I would do that is if the Central Sea Terrace was significantly more than the regular Sea Terrace for the itinerary I was going on. Or I was on a travel agent rate, so I got a really good deal and then I would bid up. So,
right.
um,
And as we both know, TA rates are not nearly what they used to be.
no. No. So we're
Yeah,
not doing that
they're
as
basic.
often.
Yeah.
We're paying full price now and bidding up.
Mhm. Um, Whatever you decide, I highly recommend that you use a travel advisor, a first mate, because Jen and I do not work for fees. That's not how we don't play that game of, oh, well, we'll help you, but this is our upfront cost. We don't do that. We want you to have a great time. We want you to have a great experience. So that stress is not there. And we're here to make sure that you know everything that you need to know from what to pack, what not to pack, um, and what expectations are. And that's part of what our podcasts are all about. So we hope you enjoy them. Please like and follow on all the social medias. Um, you can email us travel Ross at travelingwithruss.com. Jen, you're Jen at cruisingwithjen.com.
Cruisingwithjen.com.
And
Easy.
we would, yeah, can't make it any easier than that. And we're on all the socials. Um,
Yeah. So I think that's it for today's episode.
Absolutely.
Thanks everyone for joining us, and we will see you next time. Happy cruising.
Absolutely. Happy cruising, everybody.